Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Cushman. I'm so excited, guys. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to VM Nation. I got some amazing ladies that we're going to be talking to today. Carolina's finest, two amazing people, and they have something that I think every veteran would have loved to have when we were either deployed or when we had our weekend drills. And we're going to be talking about that, how to get your OME in gear. Because I watched this video and I was blown away yesterday. And I was like, I got to have one. I got to have you guys on the show. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to thank Stephen Eugene Kuhn, first of all, for the introduction. And if you don't know Stephen Eugene Kuhn, one of the most amazing people you'll ever meet. Of course, he was a dumbass tanker like me. But without Stephen Kuhn, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. So thank you, Stephen. I love you, brother. So ladies, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you, Richard. It's great. Happy hump day.
It's a cloudy day in South Carolina, but a beautiful one. So it's a good day.
We're on this side of the dirt, so we're doing pretty good.
That's right.
I love it. So the most important question I'm gonna ask is, and this is gonna see how the rest of the show goes: game clocks or time?
So I'm a South Carolina girl.
Yeah.
But
so here's my water cup if that answers it.
But I have to say, this is true since I was a kid, because there's a picture of me for Spirit Day, and I was dressed. I had a tiger costume on with a Carolina sweatshirt on. So I have always been down the line.
Both.
But if they're playing each other, I'd lean towards to the Gamecocks.
Yeah, and I grew up in Pennsylvania, and so I'm not tied to either one. The one I'm tied to, I'm a bandwagon fan where I'm tied to the game that I'm at. And I went to the Clemson game and bought this cup. And so I cheered loudly for Clemson that day.
All right, guys, we got to go. It's been a great show. I'm a Gamecock. I actually got promoted on the field from the Gamecocks. I'm a big Gamecock guy, but I'll support any Carolina team. My boy goes Coastal, so I gotta promote the Chanticleers. I love the Chants. So, guys, let me ask you first question, because I do have a traumatic brain injury. If I don't ask, I'll forget. What is both your definitions of resiliency? So just let each one know what your definition of resiliency is, especially going through COVID, especially, starting a business as a female entrepreneur, you had to be really resilient. So talk to us about what both of your definitions of resiliency are.
Wow.
Anyway, either way.
It encompasses so much. But when you get down to it, it's never giving up and getting back up every time you get knocked down. And I believe that really people can mostly only be resilient when they're called to something. And that calling is a bigger purpose in your life. And so for me, that's the true definition of resiliency, is knowing that you've got a greater purpose on this earth. And so you can't give up what you've been called to. Mm-hmm. So that's off the cuff, but that's kind of, we've lived it. And so it's hard to put words to what you've lived and when you're really still in the middle of it. But that's probably the best I got today.
Yeah. Resilience, gosh, there's so many, I think back to being even a child, and my life, I think, has been built on resiliency, coming out some really tough spots in my life. I have post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm dyslexic, ADD. I get all the things, and I keep going. I was told that I would never graduate from college. I would never amount to anything in my life. I should go flip burgers. And here I am today running our own company. So to me, that's resilient.
Yeah,
I love it. And, I love talking to the people from the Low Country. I'm from South. I became a man in South Carolina. I'm going to put it that way. And a lot of people don't realize that in 1989, a lot of the low country got decimated because of Yugo,
Yeah.
and they had to rebuild and become resilient. So I think, you guys are the definition of resiliency. So I just want to say, thank you again, once again, for coming on. Now, you got somebody, you have a Southern Belle, and then you got a Yankee from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, the people from Pennsylvania are so hardworking. They're very diligent. They're down to earth people. Same thing with South Carolina. The only difference is the accent. You guys got to tell me a little bit about each of you. Give us a quick down and dirty, and then you got to tell us how you guys met.
Well, the difference, one of the big differences is in the North, we'll tell you what we think about you. In the South, they'll just say,
bless your heart.
bless your heart. And anytime anybody ever says bless your heart to you, it's probably not a compliment from in the South. But I grew up right outside of Philly in a little town called Westchester, Pennsylvania. And I grew up in a home of, my mom was an entrepreneur. I mean, she started a bakery, and it grew over time. And my youngest brother has taken it over and grown it tenfold. But it's in the bakery. So they're one of the top wedding cake bakeries in the country, which is really cool. I'm super, super proud of my mom and dad for doing that. And then my brother for taking it over. And my sister is my brother's lead designer. And so they partner a lot in different things. So that's what I grew up in. That's kind of the environment where we could never just watch TV. We would always have to be sticking gumdrops for roses, or we'd always have to be washing pans, or because the bakery was in the bottom of our house. And so I grew up knowing hard work, honestly, just and really not giving up. I mean, there were times where my mom and dad really struggled in the business, but they didn't give up. They kept going, and now the business has been around for, maybe I said it, but over 50 years, which is really cool. And so grew up, and lots of story happened, but I worked for a nonprofit for 10 years, and then got out of that and traveled the world for a year to 11 developing countries, and then got into business management consulting for one of the top 4 big firms, and loved it, but got to the point after a while where I did not like working 80 hours a week for somebody else and being gone all the time, traveling and all of that. And so I ended up resigning from that. And my mom and dad had come up with an invention they were sitting on the beach in Bethany Beach, Delaware, and saw a single mom coming off the beach with 3 kids. And she was miserable. I mean, trying to lug all the stuff, and the kids were hot and sweaty. And so they literally, they're not inventors or engineers by any stretch, but they went up and kind of napkin sketched out this lounger that flipped up into a dolly. And this was back in 1998, when there weren't beach carts, there weren't wagons, there weren't any of that thing. People just lugged all your stuff. My dad got it patented, and they just, after working on it for a while, they just couldn't figure out how to take it to market. And so it sat on the shelf. 12 years, fast forward, when I was working for the consulting firm, I said, for some reason at 1:30 in the morning, I thought of my mom and dad's idea. And I called up my dad at 8:30 that next morning, and I said, Dad, what would you think about me trying to take your product to market? And he started crying, said, honey, that would be a dream come true. He hadn't thought of it. Well, he probably had thought of it, but hadn't talked about it for, 10 or 12 years. And so I was off to the races, partnered with a manufacturer out of North Carolina. I will forever be grateful to them for putting me through a greenhouse of learning. It ended up not being a good partnership, but, like a lot of marriages that end, you can still speak, not ill of the person. And so our values did not align. So I walked away from my own company and ended up, Stace and I started a consulting practice. I tapped back into my roots and her roots of starting businesses, and consulted with over 100 small businesses. But this idea had just never gone away, of this cart kind of transformer. And so we picked it up in 2018, incorporated as OME Gear, which stands for Oceans, Mountains, Earth Gear. And we have been working on it since then. So that's my, like, as small of a nutshell that I can put, however many years into, but I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Aiken, South Carolina, so I am a South Carolinian. I was born in California, but was only there for 13 months. So I was in Aiken for the majority of my growing up, and my parents are from here. We actually are here now. That's why I'm saying here. We're actually here visiting my parents. We're in Aiken at this very moment. I do not come from an entrepreneurial family. My parents are, my mom worked at the Savannah River site. My dad was in the Postal Service, but I always had this drive to make money in some way. I used to paint rocks, and I would go and try to sell them to my neighbors, or I would go and fill up pots of dirt for our neighbor who did flowers for all the local hardware stores for us half a penny a pot. And so I'd sit in a big dirt pile and fill up pots all day long. We thought it was fun. We got paid to do it, or I'd babysit. So I just always had that drive to figure out different ways to make money. And then, I went off to college and got a degree in occupational therapy and in English and psychology, and really dove into the occupational therapy world. I actually am a CODA, which is a certified occupational therapy assistant. But there was still something that was missing in my life. So I had an opportunity to cater, and I catered my first catering gig for the incoming governor of South Carolina before he was voted in. And I fell in love with catering. And so I started my own catering business. And then about a year after that, I was afforded the opportunity to be a partner in a restaurant in Columbia, South Carolina. So we all came together and opened a restaurant in Columbia. And it was my menu. They said, get your menu ready. And so all these dreams started unfolding, and I was finding my passion in life. Even though I enjoyed being a therapist, my passion was I'm a creative, I'm an inventor. And so I would invent with food, and I would invent new tablescapes. And so that's where I found that my love was, and being on these new ventures. So I was a therapist, running a catering business and a restaurant all at the same time. So I was sleeping about, maybe 4 hours a night and kind of doing it over and over. It was just a daily grind, a weekly grind. Ended up burning out. I had to, had a little stint in my life where I was not healthy. And, Richard, after reading your story, you had we really enjoyed reading your story yesterday, and I could relate in a lot of ways. But I had to do a little stint in rehab, and not for drugs or alcohol, but I was probably what we would call a very unhealthy spiritually. So I had to do some healing, and ended up leaving the restaurant business and coming on at a CCRC as a rehab manager and working in a rehab department. And then I got recruited. And I said, when I was getting my degree, I would never work with the elderly, and ended up, that was my last job in the rehab, was with the elderly. I worked at a retirement community. And so I worked in skilled nursing. And I tell you, if you ever have a chance to sit down and talk to someone who is considered elderly, do it, because they are filled with knowledge and lessons, and listen and learn. I used to go in an hour and a half early every single day and go sit with each one of my patients individually so I could listen and learn from them. And I had people that were in concentration camps. I had people that were considered, slaves, or their families were. And the things I was able to learn from them was lifelong lessons. But then I got recruited to open a home care business from the CCRC. This was 2008 when the recession happened and no one was moving on campus. And the CEO was like, he hired me to be his personal trainer. And then we started just talking about how we could bring income in. And he's like, I kind of want to do this home care business. And I was like, well, let me do it. He goes, what do you know? I said, nothing about it, but I can figure it out. And so started a home care business, and I was able to bring in some extra income to the CCRC, the retirement community. And then at the same time, he's like, I want you to learn everything about technology. And this was passive technology. And this was way before Alexa. This was way before, door alarms or rings or anything. So I was
Smart home.
You're smart. Yeah. I built my grandmother, the first smart home here in South Carolina in Aiken. And so everything was automatic for her, so she could live safely, and we knew it. So that afforded me the chance to travel around the world and start speaking on technology, what was out there, what was to come. I was in Israel and Ireland, and then I got to design and build a daycare surrounded, focused on dementia care. So I got to do a lot in this 15-year stint where I was truly creating things, and it was really tapping back into that passion of creating. Then I was recruited to a technology firm in Charleston where we took a medication dispenser to market, an in-home medication dispenser. And then I got tired of seeing Jules sit at home and work from home. And we had our consulting firm, and we were starting OME Gear, and we had talked about it. And we were like, if we get so many clients, then that could, that I could leave my corporate job, then I would give myself permission to go ahead and take that leap. And we did. And I walked in, I didn't even tell her I resigned from my job, and I called her up and said, I just resigned, and I gave them a month's notice. And so we could, they could find my replacement. I was number 4 in the company, so they needed to find my replacement. So I gave them that, and we were really off to the races in 2018 with OME Gear. And then obviously the world turned upside down in 2020. And but just you had asked how Jules and I met. We actually met through some mutual friends, and neither one of us were really looking to meet anyone, and it happened, and we've been together 10 years.
In Charleston.
In Charleston, yeah, we met in Charleston, and we've been together 10 years. August 1st, we've been married 5 years as of August 1st. So.
I love it, but before I want to dig deep. They call me the G.I. Joe Rogan, the male Oprah, so we're going to dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, good.
But first, I want to thank our sponsors, and both of my sponsors, they're both female CEOs, CFOs, and COOs. So I just want to talk to them and thank them. For my cousin Andrea, she actually owns an auto care company. Her and her husband Ernie own it. Here. You'll see it down below, and they've been in business for 33 years, and they are the top auto repair company, in my opinion, in the state of New Jersey. Because what my father told me, my father came off the boat from Italy. He said, you always need a good lawyer, doctor, attorney, and a good mechanic. So they are the best mechanics I know. And when they do the job, they do a job once, and they do it right. And they wouldn't be in business for 33 years if they didn't do the right job. So if you guys are in New Jersey, need your auto fixed, your car fixed, if you need auto inspections, check them out. Tell them I sent you. Also, this other company is Muriel's Trattoria. I know you guys love Southern food. I love Southern food, but I also love Italian food. That's why I'm in the shape that I am. Eat there at least twice a week. And now her mom actually came off the boat from Italy, and everything that they make is actually made from scratch. Everything is made homemade, the sausage, the pasta, everything is made homemade. So guys, if you love Italian food, check out Muriel's Trattoria. You'll see it down below. So like you said, if you guys love Italian food and you're ever in New Jersey, you definitely got to stop there. All so right. Let me ask you a question, because for me, when I got hurt on duty and lost my vision, I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. And somebody said, well, why don't you start a podcast? And I had really bad imposter syndrome. Who am I? A ninth grade dropout, drug addict and alcoholic. Who am I to be able to interview people like yourself, Stephen Kuhn, millionaires, billionaires, authors, and speakers? So I didn't do it for a while because I was like, well, I'm afraid to do it and listening to everybody else around me. So now what was it like not only being a female entrepreneur, living an alternative lifestyle, especially down south, which is totally different, and then also being part of the recovery, having been in recovery. What was that like? Did you struggle? You guys struggle with imposter syndrome before you actually started your company?
Well, I don't know. I don't really know the answer. That's a big question. If I had to look back, no, because I was just trying to figure out what in the hell I was doing and what I was going to do. I don't know. Answer that question.
It's funny. I've not really struggled with imposter syndrome. I've felt like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be every day. The challenge is, like, as far as I shouldn't be doing this, but the challenge is having the knowledge to know how to do these different things, right? As far as us being a couple, first of all, as women, we are doing multiple things that are in male-dominated spaces. So one, we're raising funding. We've raised $2 million, and we're in the process of closing another significantly larger funding round. So that's male-dominated. I think less than 2% of all funding goes to women. And so that already, like, we've got the chips against us. And then we're in the manufacturing space, which is very male-dominated. We're in the outdoor gear space, which we were at the largest outdoor trade show called Outdoor Retailer. And we walked the entire floor looking for other females who've invented complex products like ours. Like, there's a lot of females in apparel and food and those sorts of things, which is incredible. But not many in hard goods, like products like ours. And so that's another thing against us, or we see it as being our superpower, right? All of those things that were women in these male-dominated spaces. And so I think that our mountain might just be a little steeper to climb. And so oftentimes I'm like, gosh, am I in shape enough to climb this mountain, right? If carrying the analogy. But I mean, maybe I'm defining imposter syndrome different, but I've never felt like I shouldn't be doing this. I'm just saying, do I have the right gear for the climb?
Yeah. I like that analogy. I mean, I think of many times, because we're both co-CEOs, I probably live more in the imposter syndrome, that I'm probably not I'm not CEO material. But because I am an inventor and I am a visionary, but in all actuality, Jules is the leader of our company. And I just carry that label. I am a founder of our company. I probably should come up with another label for myself, but to get in the doors, that's what sometimes it takes, getting in the doors. So Jules, I have to say that Jules is our fearless leader in everything we've gone through, and all of us on our team look to Jules to make some hard decisions. Not that I don't come alongside her and help her make those decisions, but I think those words, I mean, those letters, CEO, I probably live in a little bit of an imposter syndrome on that, that I am definitely probably not qualified to call myself that.
All right. Now, like our mutual friend, Stephen Kuhn, like I said, without him, I wouldn't be in business right now if it wasn't for Stephen Kuhn, because he actually had to slap me around, and he's like, you need to focus. And he told me that focus means follow one course until successful. But he also told me that if you don't have a business plan, you don't have a business, you just have a hobby.
Right.
And that was something that I was like, oh shit, I guess I need to write out a plan, have some kind of plan. Because, but I've seen a lot of people when we get out of the military, whether it's, a lot of people when they get out of the military, they want to start a t-shirt company, a hat company, liquor, coffee. I've done them all. But a lot of us, we have the idea, or we might even make a product, but that's where it ends. We don't know where to take the first step. So you guys had a product.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first step in getting it out there?
Well, we had a concept of a product. Jules's parents came up with the concept in 1998. Jules picked it back up 12 years later, and then left that company. And so they had a new patent. So the first step was redesigning the product, because we lived 3 miles from the beach. So we saw all the junk that was there at the end of the boardwalks and people, struggling to get things on and off the beach. So we saw that struggle. So we still knew that the problem, there still wasn't a good solution for the problem. And so our first steps were taking that old patent and then redesigning it to be a multifunctional and more than just a beach product, because that was a huge barrier of entry. Is when you're doing focus groups and stuff, if you claimed it to be a beach, if someone lived in Montana and lived at a lake, they wouldn't see a purpose for it because it had something to do with the beach. So we really wanted to make it a product that was transformable, multi-purpose, and that did not interfere or with the other patents, so no one could come after us. And so that was the first thing, is sitting down and finding a firm to really sit down and dig deep and go into what we call the ideation session, is to figure out how we were going to make this product and to encompass everything that we wanted it to do, plus. So that was the first step of really, before we even really incorporated, we took that step, and then went ahead and filed for that. Once we got the design where we needed it and knew how we were going to, how it did not interfere with the other patent, went ahead and filed for that provisional patent.
Because I watched your video probably at least 12 times yesterday on Instagram. So if your numbers have went up, I take full responsibility.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
But as I got downstairs in my chair this morning, I'm like, this chair really sucks. I can't wait to get my own. I was so impressed. And I think, as you see, I'm writing stuff down, because if I don't write it down, I'll forget. But I think your product is the perfect anti-tech product that we need out there, because I know, like me and my family, when we go to the beach, or when I purposely, I'll bring a book maybe, but I won't even bring my phone, because it's like, I just want to enjoy. I spend enough time on social media. So I think your product is really needed today, and especially coming out of COVID, because so many people are like, I got to get out of the house. I got to get out of the house. And I think your product is the perfect reason, because usually if they say that, people that pay attention, so if somebody buys one of your products and they see it in the garage, they're going to be like, all right, we paid for this, we might as well go use it. So, and I've read a lot. You have so many positive reviews on your website. So talk to us about, once you finally got it into people's hands, what their thought process is, and what are they saying about your product?
So there's a couple of things. Our wheels are really game changers. A lot of times people think they're hard plastic wheels. They're actually not. So Santoprene rubber on the outside, and so they work awesome on any terrain, including soft sand. That's always, when we did market research on what was out there before we launched, we spent countless hours and created an 80-page document of all the competitive products that were out there and what the reviews said about them and what they loved about those products and what they hated about those products. And what was two consistent themes. One, the products were usually junk. So they would last them one season and then they'd have to throw them away, or they'd break, or because they'd be completely rust filled or whatever. And then the second one was the wheels don't work. They don't roll on soft sand. They're not good on any terrain. And so we said, okay, if we can address those two things, plus make it be 5 products in one. So you save space in your garage. It folds up really small for storage. I mean, we designed it to fit in the back of a Toyota Camry with all of your other stuff. And so it was, man, our design of this was $300,000 or $350,000 we spent just on the design alone. And I want to say this because I don't want to forget this. So you said there's a lot of veterans who come out of the military and have ideas for products, but have no idea how to take them to market. Yeah. We sat down last week and wrote out a 5-page document of how to start with taking a product to market. So I would love to offer that to any of your listeners, obviously free of charge. I'll send it to you. You can send it out. They can follow me on LinkedIn. It's just Jules Weldon. And I'll mail that to them. So it's a resource to try to help other people coming behind us or alongside of us fill in the potholes so that their road isn't as treacherous as ours has been. So that's a resource. But once we did that, then you know what, Richard? It costs so much money to bring this product to market. Mm-hmm. I mean, we always say things cost more, take longer, and are way harder than you can ever anticipate when you have a product that you want to take to market. Yep. And so we started raising money through friends and family. I mean, we could only, tap into our savings so much. I mean, there's only so much there to tap into. And once we were tapped out of that, we started raising money from friends and family. And so that I feel like one of the things that people don't understand when you have a complex product is it requires a lot of funding, and sales are great. But when you get a big order in, you have to pay for that order in advance. And so that's a big capital infusion that you need. And then a lot of times these retailers pay on a 30, 60 or 90-day terms. And so you don't get your payment until 90 days later. So to be able to float that kind of cash is really hard. And so we've become full-time fundraisers. And that has been exhausting because we don't have experience with that, creating pitch decks. I mean, now we do. I feel like we've done the 10,000 hours on something, and a little bit about it once you do that. And so anyway, yeah, so it's just been a process for us of learning. Each new stepping stone is a whole other learning process for us, where, we say, and a lot of people say this and you're like, yeah, right, you're successful. But really, truly, if we can do it, anyone can do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, you've got to decide what you're willing to give up and how much you're willing to learn in order to get to where you want to go.
Okay, but now I want to go back to what you're talking about, because I've talked to several of the Shark Tank guys, and I've actually had Brian Cuban's brother's been on the show, and I've actually talked with Herjavec a couple times. And a lot of times that they say, and I believe it's true that, facts will tell, but stories will sell. Mm-hmm. And that you have a story that this actually came from your dad. This was so you actually have a story to tell. And I think a lot of people, when they're in business, they don't get emotions involved. They're more like, well, this has this feature, this has this feature. Where like, you can show me this 5 things that it does. You can show me all that. But if you tell me, Rich, you're going to be able to sit with your family and hold your bride's hand, and you're going to be able to go out to the family on the beach and hang out and have no problems going and enjoying your day, that's going to make me pull out my credit card. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people, and you guys are not one of them, but I'm saying a lot of people, they're always more worried about what the facts are, what the features are, instead of what the person's actually. They're not buying it for the feature, they're buying it for the vacation. Mm-hmm. So I'm having one of the Iron Chefs on. He's coming on tomorrow, and he says it's not the steak, it's the sizzle. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about getting your clients emotionally involved to purchase.
Yeah. So I just want to answer this, and then I want Stace to really answer it. But we were part of a panel a while back, and the moderator asked us, how do you separate emotion from your company? And I just kind of got tongue tied because I said, we don't. Like, I don't know. We are our company. I mean, we are very, it's like, how do you separate your emotion from your children? Like, our company we have invested so much time and energy and effort into this company that we don't, I mean, of course, I'm not going to get up and be a blubbering mess about my company and open up to everybody and tell all the like soul crushing and like almost taking us to breaking point moments. I'm not going to do that with everyone. I will if they ask, but it's not about that kind of emotion, but the passion that we have wrapped up in this. When somebody makes a negative comment on TikTok, or any social media, like, I get that you have to have thick skin, and we do, but like, those comments matter to us. Like, they affect us, because it's just like, if somebody said something bad about one of your children, like, you can go, oh, you just tell them who's boss or whatever. Yeah, of course, but it still affects you, And so you're right. Like, our story is a huge part of who we are and who this product is. And ultimately, it's not about a product to us. It can be, I mean, for that, it could be like any product, but it's really about this story and us telling it in such a way that other entrepreneurs or people would-be entrepreneurs can go, man, if 2 50-year-old women can do this with no experience in creating products, then maybe I can too. Mm-hmm. So for us to be an inspiration, we have to tell our story in that, so that people can connect with it. So sorry.
And I will never apologize for getting emotional about our journey or our product. Because like Jill said, we don't have children. Now we have 21 nieces and nephews and 2 god boys. And so we know about parenting. I can assure you that, because we have done our fair share of it. But this one company, we have several, is our child. And we're very proud of the fact that there is a legacy behind it. And I will get emotional about it. And I don't care what people think. I honestly don't. I am not a man. I'm not built like a man. I've never chosen to be a man. I am a woman, and I have emotions. And I think that's the difference with women and men and how we're portrayed in the boardroom. I'm portrayed as a bitch. I'm not a bitch. But because I want to stand up for myself.
Well, you're not portrayed only when you stand up for
yourself. When I stand up for myself, I'm portrayed as a bitch. I am not. I'm actually a pretty level-headed woman, strong woman. But when you go back, and it goes back to that first question of resiliency, I mean, Jules and I chose, now we didn't have to do this. We chose to give up our home, to sell our home, to save our company. And it doesn't have to do with necessarily a product. It can have been any product. We have put our heart and our soul, our blood, sweat, and tears, and even our laughter into this company. And so it hasn't been all hard road, but a lot of it has been. And it's okay for us to share it and give people the momentum they need to continue to keep going. Mm-hmm. And we went and traveled for 2 years in 2.5 years in an RV, literally selling our product, one product at a time. And we had it was a wrapped RV, and so we would go on the road for 2.5 years, and because we didn't have a home anymore. That became our home. We have a address, and that we would go and stay in Charleston to come off the road a little bit. But we ran out of money in 2020 because we couldn't find funding. Jules looked at me on Christmas, the day before Christmas, and said, "The last thing we have, we've closed out our credit card. We've maxed out our credit cards. We've closed out all of our 401ks. We've maxed out our savings account. Everything was gone. The only thing we had left was our home with any value." And our manufacturer had hidden our product in a warehouse in Utah. We had no idea where it was until we paid him. And so that was what we had to do. And so we chose, it was our choice to sell our home, take the money from the sale of our home, and get our product so we could get it out to the masses. And so we feel like that we'd made the right choice. We would never, someone asked us, or we were on a walk the other day, and Jules asked, she said, would you ever go back to 2021 and make it, or 2020, that December, and make another decision? I said, absolutely not. As hard as it's been, I would never want to be back there and then look back and say, could we have done it? Should we have done it? Or, shoulda, woulda, coulda. And so, that, to me, our story draws out the emotion. I mean, it's an emotional story to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never apologize for it.
And I love that. But I want to go back to something you guys just said. Because when I lost my vision, my hearing got a lot better. Well, not according to my wife. But I can hang on certain words you said. You guys, and you were talking about comments. And I know I'm starting to get a lot of haters, and I'm okay with that, because I realize that, hurt people, and you probably hit a nerve somehow. But a lot of times, if I have somebody put a negative comment on my TikTok, I'll be like, hey, thank you for the comment, by the way. Whether you agree or not, thank you so much. How was your day going? Yeah. And a lot of times they'll mess me back. They're like, really? I thought you were going to act like an idiot. I'm like, no, that was something that my brother Gary V taught me, that, sometimes you can make these people that were your enemies at one point, now they've become your biggest supporters, because they might have been having a bad day.
Right.
And something struck the chord. So talk to us, because I know a lot of people, especially on social media, they'll put out posts all day long, every day. But they might have a post with like 30 comments, but 0 replies. And they're not social on social media. And I think that's such a big problem that I see, because I know that, say, if like I did a post, and Mr. Dean Graziosi posted, and he said, you know what? Thank you. I love your show. You're doing amazing things. That touched me, that he took a time out of his day just to say, thank you and give me positive review. But a lot of people, they'll get comments, but they don't respond, and they're wondering why they're not building those relationships. So talk about, because business is all about relationships. Like, now that we're friends, hopefully we can build generational relationships, because that's what I'm all about. When we come down to South Carolina, we'll all get together, go out for dinner. Yeah. But, talk to us about building relationships. I think it's more important now than ever. So talk about building relationships.
Yeah.
I'm going to step in here, because Jules does our TikTok. She is so good on LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, follow her. She just throws out so many good nuggets. I would love to take a little bit of credit for that, but I can't. She literally does it all. We have interns that, we have an intern staff that runs some of our social media, but Jules does a lot of our TikTok. Now, and Jules does a lot of our responding on any of our platforms. I don't have as thick skin as Jules does. And so she has taken on TikTok, and she literally sits down and replies to everyone, negative, positive, as hard as it is. And people have noticed on TikTok, they've reached out to her and said, man, just like, people have reached out to you, and she's like, they're like, you are so, you do that so well. I was mad for you. I wanted to respond for you. And the way she comes back as such a gracious, thank you for responding, because, anything, it gets them more clicks, right? People are still reading it.
It helps our algorithm.
It helps your algorithm, right? But I have to just, I'm going to let Jules come in and talk about it. But Jules does such a good job with the social media, and just keeping up with it and responding to everyone. I just have to throw my hat to her. I mean, she does it all.
Thank you.
I just want to give a big shout out to Jenny. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. If you got something out of it, please share this. And if not, thank you so much for your support. So talk to us about your TikTok experience, because a lot of people think, well, TikTok is for 11-year-old, but when you look at TikTok and you realize that KFC, Kia are spending 40 to 50% of their annual budget on
Yeah.
TikTok, and I don't know a lot of 11-year-olds that are buying the new Kia Stingers. So there's a reason why they're promoting on TikTok. We only have about 10,000 friends. I don't call them followers because I consider them friends. But we have about 10,000 friends, and I'm so grateful for every one of them. So talk to us about your experience on TikTok.
You know, it's funny. One of our investors actually recommended that we get on TikTok a year before we got on, and we should have. Now I tell her, I'm like, I wish I would have listened to you on that. I just didn't feel like it felt like a big learning curve to try to figure it out. But then finally I was like, we need to figure this thing out, the TikTok. And so we did, and we've had some really great success. We've had multiple videos that have gotten multiple million views. And so it's been an incredible learning experience. And we've not done any lives yet, although I want to start getting into those because I feel like that's where you really connect with people. But it's funny. I mean, you can tell there are 13-year-olds who get on and trash your product or trash the price point, or, and you just try to, I mean, honestly, if somebody's just blatantly negative, I'll just block them, because to me, I want our TikTok to be one that's a positive place. And I don't care about negative feedback. That's fine. But if somebody's just coming on to be outright rude and you can tell the difference, then I'll just go ahead and block them, because there are a lot of trolls and a lot of bots on TikTok, and I don't have time for that. But it's been an incredible experience. We've gotten a lot of great feedback. We actually met the buyer of a very, very, very large retail chain, and it looks like we'll be flying out to meet directly with them in October through TikTok. And so you would be surprised who is on there looking at your feed under a name that you wouldn't recognize, like, Captain Mari or whatever. And then that's like, it's not, I just made that up, but like, that's like the biggest buyer for this retail chain you want to get into. So just to be consistent is very important. I mean, they say post 3 to 4 videos a day, which I try to do. It's a little challenging some days because, it's a big commitment and running a business and all of that. But it's been an incredible experience. I'm so grateful for TikTok, and we have a ton of entrepreneurial friends who TikTok is a massive platform for them. So it's been a great resource.
If I ever hear her talking to herself in the bathroom, she's probably doing a TikTok.
Doing a TikTok video.
So let me ask you guys a question, because I wrote something down you guys just mentioned was price. And a lot of people, and this is something I've just come to learn, because when you talk to millionaires, billionaires, they have a different point on price. It's something that was taught to me by Mr. David Meltzer. His company's worth $20 billion now. He said that, if you're competing on price, you're only racing to the bottom. There's no good thing in being the second lowest price, but sometimes it's best to be at the highest price. Like, my coaching program is not cheap because I give you high quality. And what I learned about this whole price thing is I was with GNC for over 30 years, and we would put a pre-workout and we would put a price tag of $80 on it, and we'd have 100 of them. We would put a price tag on one that had $20 and had 10 of them. At the end of the day, the cheap ones are still there. Mm-hmm. The high price ones are all gone. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people will say, well, wait a minute, this one is $20. This one is $70 or $80. There's got to be something to it that they're so expensive. So talk about the differences not always being the cheapest, but adding the highest quality and value for the price.
Yeah, so we made a really conscious decision in the beginning that we wanted to come out with a higher price point product, because we had noticed that there's so many junk camping chairs, junk beach chairs, junk wagons, junk cots. And we said we want to do something different. We want to make one product that's all quality parts and pieces and put it all together into a transforming unit that's unlike anything that's out there. We have so much stuff in this world, right? So we didn't want to just put another knockoff of something else out there. We wanted to make something that was original, and so we did. And so a lot of people on TikTok, they will say something about the price negative. Now, when we are in person with people at trade shows or doing demos live or whatever, very, very, very rarely do we get pushback on the price, because you can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it, you can see how many different functions it is. You can sit in it, all of that. You can kick the tires, literally. On TikTok, you can't do that. And you've got a lot of younger kids and bots. Those are the ones who tend to be pretty negative. But we don't make apologies for it, because we know what it costs. One guy said, "Oh, this thing can't cost more than $30 to make." I'm like, you've clearly never taken a product to market before, and that's fine. But it certainly is way more than $30
Well,
just
actually,
to make it.
we asked him if he can make it for $30 to find out, let us know. We'd let him.
And
bring
put a
him
video
in.
up,
Yeah.
put a video up on it so we can see. But just our tires alone, our wheels alone are $34, our cost. And so people just don't understand how expensive things are to make, especially in today's day and age with inflation and cost of raw materials and cost of freight and all of those things. And so our price point is what it is. When you think that you can buy a cooler that's one function, a cooler, and it's the same price point as 5 or 6 things. I mean, this can turn into a hauler for all of your kayaks, your paddle boards, for deer coming out of the woods. This thing literally can do it all as far as transport and seating for the outdoors. We actually think $399 is a pretty fair price on it.
Yeah, but also the same people, and I don't know why it just hit me funny, but the same people that are complaining about price are the same people. If there's a Bugatti parked by him or a Lambo, they're going to want to take a picture of it. Why are you taking a picture with the Chevy?
Yeah.
If you're not concerned about price, why are you taking pictures with the Lambo or the Bugatti?
That's such a good point. And I mean, if you look in these people's homes, they've got a 72-inch big screen TV. They've got the latest iPhone. It's totally fine, but we spend money on what we value, right? If we value something, we will find the money. Eventually we'll save up or we'll go buy it, even if we don't have it, whatever. So we all spend money on what we value, and that's fine. So we just say on TikTok, maybe you just don't value this, and that's okay. It's not for everybody, and we're okay with that. But the people that do have it absolutely love it, and that's what we're stoked about.
And I love it. Like we just got voted one of the top voices on LinkedIn. I think we got something like almost 30,000 followers. And I did a post yesterday, and it was talking about, I'd rather have one great Gibson Les Paul than to have 6 crappy guitars sitting around my house. And I'd rather buy it once.
Right.
If I buy a good quality product, I'm only going to have to buy it once, kind of like my cousin Andrew. You fix it once, you don't got to fix it again. And I think that's the difference between price and value. Right? All right. So now this is a teaching podcast. This is an entrepreneurial podcast. So it's September 27th, 2023. Private Joe Snuffy just gets out of the military, wants to start a company. What would be your top 3 things that he can do to start a company today in September 27th, 2023?
You want to answer that?
Well, I mean, I think it's top 3. I don't know. I mean, there's a litany of things that you can do. First of all, if it's a product, obviously service and products are completely different. But a product, first of all, see how viable it is for the mass market, and kind of understand who your target market is. Anybody can build a new spoon, but what is the solution? What is the problem and you have the solution for? And that, I think that to me as an inventor, and I have an inventor's mind. I literally come up with a new invention I probably come up with 3 or 4 a week, and I have a notebook of them. And I always think about, okay, this is why I'm inventing this, because I saw that there's a problem. I have the problem. I know probably other people have the problem. So I need to come up with a solution for it. And that's how my mind works. And I feel like other people, inventors, do too. And so you see the problem, you come up with a solution. So that's number one. And then building that prototype, and then actually going out to your friends and family and saying, and this all can be lumped in kind of one thing, and saying, could you use this product? Would you use this product? That kind of gives you an idea of how far you want to take it, to me.
Mm-hmm. I would, just because coming off of building this where to start when taking a product to market, I've got some other things in my mind. Those are all right. The very, very, very first thing that we put in that document is in there as number one for a reason. You have got to go internal and figure out if you have what it takes, if you have the skill set, and if you have the mental fortitude and the chutzpah, to go through the grind of actually taking a product to market. It is hands down. I mean, I'm 52, Stacey's 51, the hardest thing either one of us have ever done in our lives. And we've both done really hard things, but it has brought us to our knees, to the point of feeling like our souls are being crushed. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, it's been the hardest thing we've ever done. And so everybody says, well, I've got this idea and I want to take it to market. Figure out if you've got A, the skill set, and B, the tenacity and the grit and the resilience. Yeah. Look at your history and go, does my history show that I have stick-to-itiveness, and that I have fortitude to really plow through something? And if you do, great. If you don't, then you can still do your product, but it might have a different outcome. Like you might license it to somebody. You might find somebody who likes your idea and they take it to market and you just make a royalty off of it, right? So I think to me, that's one of the first things. And the second thing is, before you even start any kind of prototype, you've got to do some pretty significant market research. Find out what else is out there. We have no excuse these days to not have a 50-page competitive research document before we even get started with the product because of Google. You can literally find anything that has to do with your product out there with the right search terms in Google. And so just getting a knowledge and an understanding of the market space is crucial to me. And so all those that Stacey said and that I said are in that document. And it's free. So we're not looking for anything from it.
Okay, so that's going to bring us to the last thing is, how do we find you guys? How do we support your mission? What can we do to get every household to have one of these in their garage? Like I'm going to have one in my garage.
Yes, you are. So you can find us on any of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. You'll find Jules. And then our website is omegear.com. So you can find us there. If you have any questions, you reach out to us directly. Jules and I it comes directly to us. We're about building relationships. We want to have customers that are lifelong customers. We just don't want you to be a one and done. So if you have problems with it, or you have questions about it, you get it and you can't figure out how to get into a mode. We say two blinds created it. It can't be that hard. So we can talk you through it. We have been in the airport and had a customer call and say, I can't figure out how to do it in this mode. Get us on FaceTime. We will FaceTime with you. We will walk you through it. That's who we are. We want to build lifelong friendships and lifelong relationships and lifelong customers. And so, that's how we do our business. That's how we want to do business with other people and their businesses. So just connect with us on any of the social media platforms. Jules on LinkedIn, And that's how you get in touch
And
with us.
the best email that comes to us directly is info@omegear.com. So it's real easy, info@omegear.com, and we'll read it right away.
Okay, so if somebody doesn't know who Stephen Eugene Kuhn is, can you just drop a little bit of knowledge about who he is and how you guys got in touch with him?
Yeah, so I'm a part of a group that is it's a group that a bunch of people come together and try to lift each other up. And Stephen is a part of that group. And so when I think of Stephen, man, he's a connector.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the smartest guys that I've had the privilege of having a conversation with. He's kind, and he's a get shit done kind of person.
And I'll tell you, so my experience with Stephen, we met him during COVID, and he was a catalyst. He didn't get us directly to our manufacturer, but he was a catalyst in connecting the dots to get us to our manufacturer. When our first manufacturer went silent on us at the beginning of COVID, Stephen came on board to help us connect the dots to find a new manufacturer. And so to me, that's an experience. It wasn't about what we could do for him. It was like, how can I help you? How can I help you move you forward to get you going again? And he just did it out of the kindness of his heart. And, never asked for a dime. He just said, let me help you. So to me,
yeah,
we would probably not be where we are today without Stephen.
I love it. So thank you guys so much for coming on.
If you're watching this and you can't hear it, we can't either. But I'm sure he's saying something really good.
Me, and also for veterans out there.
Unfortunately, Richard, we just missed everything. You just went completely silent. So we missed everything that you said, but I'm sure it was really kind. So thank you very much.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you do. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for things that you do for our veterans and first responders. So I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to come on and hang out with us today.
Thank you so much, Richard, for having us.
Thank you. We received that, and all of that goes right back to you. I feel like you do what we do times 100. So that thanks that you just communicated is times 100 right back at you. So
thank you. And thank you for reading the book. I appreciate that. So guys, make sure you check out their social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and also on Instagram and also TikTok. Make sure you check them out and support them. All right, guys, have an amazing week. Keep crushing it, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you so much, Richard. You as well.
All right, guys, I love you guys. Have an amazing week. And remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is but up. And if you like this and if you like what we're doing, check out verticalmomentumpodcast.com, where you can pick up the t-shirts, hat, coffee, and also my brand new coaching course. Love you guys.